The Day Billy Fell Off the Cliff by Byron Broussard. The Day Billy Fell Off the Cliff, Part 25. "Oh, wow," me said in a toneless voice. "We seem to have picked up the favor of the eye in the sky." "I knew this was religious," blurted Frank. "Fire and hell makes sense, right?" "I have new information for one known as George," me reported. "This should work if you allow me to access your book for a second." George nodded his acceptance, and me went on, smiling and kicking their feet in the booth. George's book appeared in me's hands, and they turned the book over, looking intently. "How big is this?" Billy asked. "This," me answered. They tapped the exposed part of the pages stacked inside of the closed book on the opposite side of the spine. "This is pretty big, like major." A screen appeared where Mia tapped. "Hi, I am the eye in the sky," I said over the display. Me showed the book to everyone in the room. "It's I, the awareness of the whole astral realm," me said in the toneless voice. Me said in their toneless voice. "I have seen everything, including me, and can give us displays of it through the light." "Omnipresence?" Billy said. "Well, I am impressed," Jessica said. "Let's talk to I. Take out your book." I didn't know what to say to all of them. I decided very early on to keep it simple, stupid. I was going to kiss all of them in their stupid little brains. "Hi, guys," I made the display say. Billy looked incredulous. Jessica glanced at me, and me just stared as if contemplating pie. "This is embarrassing. You all burn so brightly." "What do you think of Rick?" Billy asked, too loudly if you ask me. I made the display read, "He's an alright guy, got one hell of an arc." "Hell? Did you just say hell?" Frank reacting to Billy reading my response. I made the display a little smaller and more private. "You should get rid of the 3 wise men. Lesson learned and all." I wanted to add that I probably wouldn't talk to them again. I should tell them. Maybe later. "You are right, We have concluded the lesson here," Billy released Taylor before continuing. "Frank, you have your clarity. Go forth and exercise your will." Billy released Frank. "George, you can most likely use the information about I to help Lisa in a way that would get her to date Rick. I don't see how that ends in a positive for you, but you got," Billy released George. "Wait. Can we still talk to you while we are out of Wait, can we still talk to you while we're out on the town?" Jessica asked aloud like a normal conversation volume. It was very much appreciated. I made the display read, "I have no idea. I didn't know I was alive. You and Billy woke me." Maybe that was too much information, but it was all the information they needed before exiting the darkness of self-reflection. "Do you know how I connects to you, me?" Billy asked me. "I do not," me answered. "What is your location?" me asked me in a toneless voice. "Well, I mean, if we think about this," Billy started. He is the awareness of the astral, and we are inside the astral, kind of like you are inside the star. We are, like now, his version of intuition," Billy concluded. "Didn't you warn me about creating a religion or something?" he asked. "No, you brought up the whole Jesus and the devil thing. All I said was that there would be red skeletons," me said. As I listened to them debate, I thought about how we all related to one another. It seemed that time was what separated us. And that was weird because I only had been alive for half of Billy's grand adventures. I didn't even witness when Jessica and he met. I know it was hilariously heartwarming. I made the display read, "I'm just your kid, and life is a garbage fire." "Oh, nice, a sense of humor," Jessica commented. "Whose kid?" Billy asked. I knew it was a bad plan, but I couldn't waste the opportunity to showcase my personality. I made the display read, "Okay, so you know how me was born here in the star, and they watched all of your Earth life. So, like, I was born here, and I have access to the information from this land of fire, the possibilities and the impressions. I can show you thousands of romantic excursions you went on with George whilst you were confronting Frank. I can show you any book from any flaming person. I can see all darknesses of self-reflection." I let the display linger for longer than it would normally to take. I let the display linger for longer than it would normally take to read. Then I continued with a fresh screen. "What I do not know is what to do with the information. I don't know how else to talk to you, and I do not know if I am alone here." I should have signed off with "think of me" like I wanted to. All right, that's enough. Let's go back and face the world we love so much and figure out how to integrate I into our lovely little family. "We won't forget you, I," Jessica encouraged. Her image disappeared. "Well, now hold on. Should we leave I so readily?" Billy cautioned. "Let's talk about it up top. I think better in the noise. Feels more personal." She spit the words out like tongues of fire. I envisioned the coach clapping his hands to emphasize the hurried nature. Not sure where the idea came from. I made the display read, "I'm remembering things from nomenclature and colloquialisms." Jessica glanced at the changing screen. "Well, you do have access to all the books." Jessica's image disappeared. "Fuck you," I said to them, and the display changed. I saw it create pixelated fist with the middle finger up. "Wow," Billy said as he opened his eyes to the sound of the campfire. "Now you're a real boy," Jessica congratulated. "Where are we with the wise men?" "They were transferred and Taylor is back here already," me replied. I watched the fire and the flame that was Billy ignoring. I watched the fire as the flame that was Billy ignored me. I had just about as much interest in the flaming land as Jessica had in the darkness of self-reflection. I sat back and unfocused my attention. Why am I even here? I refocused and looked for me. Something's off. This feels less, me was saying. I tried to swat at them. So now I have hands. Ellipses, Billy. So we were back on the coals, doing the thing, protecting the flag or whatever. Then me starts talking about how something feels off. Then we look up and the goddamn star is moving towards me. Ellipses, I. The fire blinked and me was no longer among them. Ellipses, Billy. It happened pretty fast. The star was smaller than I had imagined. Like, I thought it was small because it was so far away, like back on the Earth area, but I thought it was small because it was so far away, like back on Earth. I thought it was it happened pretty fast. The star was smaller than I had imagined. Like, I thought it was small because it was so far away, like back on the Earth area. That seems smaller than it should, is what I was saying when me disappeared. Are you doing this? Jessica asked. Is it Lisa? I'm pretty sure her sword swiped the star before me was taken. For a second, I didn't even remember how to talk to me while they were in the star. I could only remember how to extract them. Jessica pulled me out of her bag and immediately hugged them. What happened? Are you all right? Me smiled at her and patted her head, returning the hug. I can't be hurt, but my feelings can, me said in their toneless voice. Choose the high road, and let's find out how to move the goddamn star, Billy said, flying to them on the coals. I mean, we all know that was a fuck you from the eye in the sky, but the execution was a chef's kiss, Billy said inside his head to Jessica and me. I was just trying to interact. Pause. I was attempting to express frustration, and I know me will listen. Pause. You all can't even hear me. Pause. I want to hang out as well. Well, I have some new information, me said. Do you want to ask the question? Ask the question. Do you want to give the answer? Ask the question. Do you want to give the answer? I yelled. No pause necessary because me immediately answered. Billy runs this here ship. Pause for effect. His will is in fact what will earn you brownie points, not your own. Me reprimanded me. Safe to say you are in an in-the-moment conversation with I right now, me, Billy asked. Billy somehow always knew the greatest questions to ask. As a matter of fact, he does stride the path of my existence. Yes, me answered. And there's a power struggle because I is a kid who doesn't want to be behind the curtain of Oz, or rather the curtain of me and the sun, or whatever, Billy pontificated. Yes, me answered. So of course I is having a whole dialogue and diatribe that he wants to be relayed through me, and me can't just be a radio walkie-talkie. Billy paused. Or can you be a radio receiver, me? Billy asked. Yes, pause to comment on how Billy just showed us how a real pause goes. I guess I could be a receiver, but that doesn't sound like the correct answer, me said in their toneless voice. So I is attempting to be part of the group. Try manipulating the star. I'm sure you can somehow catch on to our head converse. So I is attempting to be part of the group. Try manipulating the star. I'm sure you can somehow catch on to our in-head conversation. We can circumvent me if you attune to me, Billy cooed. It felt like belittling but also nurturing at the same time. I didn't know how to respond. I looked around the fire and saw Jessica's faint flame glowing bright as she seemed to be in one spot. She was stretching her arms from one side to the other. It reminded me of Qigong. Each time her arm extended, the periphery of the circle expanded as flaming people were pushed back. The hell is she doing? I asked. I guess I asked me, my only real connection. Jessica, the eye wants to know what you are doing, me relayed. You tell me, I, Jessica responded. Use your skills to participate. Be right here, right now. Yeah, that made me feel emotions, like mad, like ashamed I was mad. I almost hit me again. The only action I could take to smite them, I pushed with my energy like Jessica seemed to be doing. Ellipses, Billy. The stars started to vibrate. It was so cool. The lonely wind sound that the star would make was replaced with a vibration that sounded like whales singing. The fuck did you tell him, Jessica? I asked her as the lone star got closer. Ellipses, I felt their amazement. I liked how they watched me. The star reacted to my influence, and I felt wrapped in the whole ordeal. The scene, the span of the flaming land, seemed to shrink, like my attention was in tunnel vision. Then it began to grow with energy I pressed into it. I seemed to shrink as the star became big enough for me to be surrounded by. I pressed my hands against the lonely orb, thinking of how me used to live inside of it. An image of me appeared inside. Me waved their Vantablack hand in greeting. I see you, me said. Holy shit, Billy exclaimed. Can you just project yourself here in a hologram or something? I was embarrassed, so I pushed a finger through the star. Ellipses, Billy. The friggin' lone star, stationary star, began to bulb out and spill light. Then I realized it was flipping us off. I's gonna be a handful, Jessica chimed in. You bet your ass he is. Dude tried to manifest a body of light when light can be used to express almost anything. Dude tried to manifest a body of light when light can be used to express most anything. Ellipses, I could feel Billy judging me in my efforts. I wanted to be able to jaunt with him. And so I used my will, the very will that Billy was preaching about. I created an image of myself in Billy's image. I stood next to Billy, Jessica, and me in real time. Of course, there was no time. Ellipses, Billy. This dude really manifested himself on some Vishnu shit. I'm surprised there weren't a whole chariot and a choir or something. Ellipses, Lisa. The sky shook and there was a bright light. Lisa spewed lava at a line of flaming people who looked to her for direction. I know Billy didn't just unlock some other type of... I can't even think of a word. Potential? Lee answered. Ellipses, Jessica. I appeared before we could even establish a working system of communication. We were caught pretty off guard. Ellipses, I waved at them. They became larger than life. Me was cordial as always. They came and gave me a handshake. Would you like to be called I? Me asked in their toneless voice. I thought about looking around the flaming land. Has he said anything yet? Speech works so particularly here, Billy inquired. Not yet, me answered. I looked at my hands and legs. I looked at Jessica, who had taken a more relaxed stance with her energy work. The pushing and pulling of her arms was now visible to me as her throwing her sword back and forth so quickly that it seemed a fluid motion. Me skipped around to Billy, who was standing around seemingly pointing at flaming beasts in the air. Anytime you want to enlighten us about anything, Billy said to me. Hello, I attempted to say to him. Did you get that? Me asked. I found that my lips did not move when I attempted to speak. Billy looked at me and I assumed he said hi, Billy answered. The disappointment was palpable. Well, let us go through the normal pathways, Jessica encouraged. What can you do? Do you have a bag and a sword or a goblet? She asked me. I disappeared into where I woke up before reappearing. Maybe I can watch, I said pitifully. I'm sure you have some reason for being, much like I'm sure we aren't all here for nothing, Billy said. He turned his back and kicked some coal. Jessica scooted closer to me. You mentioned being able to show me romantic excursions with George? Billy turned his back towards me. Yes, I answered. Thousands. I says that there are thousands, me translated. Ellipses, Billy. This sparkly dude came all the way down here, shining, and was totally ready to give up at the first sign of turbulence. I got him with the old nonchalant stance before spinning to touch his shoulder. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I yelled at him while my flaming hand made contact with his light body. Ellipses, Jessica. I knew something was up with Billy when he turned his back on I. It was like they were mirroring dissatisfaction. I had to huddle close to me to fend off the feeling of futility. Then out of nowhere, Billy goes and touches a light body like we know the ramifications. Ellipses, I experienced touch. Of course I knew it was coming, and I welcomed it with as little anticipation as one whose life depends on an outcome they can muster. I experienced touch. Of course, I knew it was coming, and I welcomed it with as little anticipation as one whose life depends on an outcome can muster. Billy's flaming hand reached my shoulder. Muster? Maybe like fend off. Can you hear me? Billy said again. He felt an overwhelming sense of anxiety pour out of I. Billy removed his hand. Reckless! Jessica yelled. She stepped towards them with her sword held high. Me pulled at her arm. They need to do this their way, Me said in a toneless voice. Then nothing happened. Nothing, we said together. Does it matter if I can hear you that much? Billy asked aloud in his head. No, it doesn't. But it was new, and new is interesting, Billy answered. We were at the point with each other that Billy and me reached. Master's initiate, the king and the pawn, slave drive and other drive. When we think of thought, we often think of thought that we can understand in our own language, I said through Billy. There's the type of thought that exists without the perception of words, especially in your known language. Me sat down on the coals at Jessica's flaming feet. Billy and I looked through them. The emotions, the will, the gnosis of condensed information. Pause. We can hear each other's thoughts in this space, but our personal thoughts remain personal. So I is like the personal thought, Jessica chimed in. Her flaming body relaxed visibly. Her force field was active, seemingly by itself, holding flaming people and flaming beasts a couple yards away from them. I am located, Billy started. Then he turned to I and put both hands on his shoulders. I is located, with its frequency in the astral, its time is relative, and its location is the astral. Also known as its intuition being information, its body being relative, and its surroundings being everything. Billy removed his flaming hands from I's light body. "Welcome aboard, matey," Me said. I thought it was the perfect thing to say. "Thanks, Mia," said back. "I'm going to go hang out in my tower while we deliberate.